Hello and welcome to another Tuesday at 2. And today we are excited to have Nicole Mayer with us. And when we think about hosting these conversations, my sister, Allison Nissen, and I, we always love working with women and interviewing women that have a phenomenal business that's very successful. And they also have some passion projects. So today we're going to talk with Nicole. She has the words rethink and refine are two qualities that she really believes in when she was trying to think about the traditional way of financial services and trying to make impactful changes with her clients and the work that she does. So Nicole, welcome to today's, welcome to Tuesday at 2.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, we'd love to start with just share a little bit of your story about how you got into financial services and give us a little bit of the background of your work you do there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I really wanted to be in education. I love helping people. And as I went down the education route in college, it's just like, it wasn't going to be for me long-term. Mostly, I don't think it was going to be as financially rewarding as I wanted it to be. And then I fell into finance and got into financial planning and loved it. My first couple of years on my journey, it was not what I thought it was going to be. It was working for a company and hacking product. And that was like, having anxiety attacks at night, being like, I don't think this is appropriate for someone. Like, this is not what I thought this was going to do. I thought I'd be educating people and helping them make decisions with confidence. And quickly learned that was the majority of people in our business. That's not what they do and how they do it. And I was super discouraged and I thought I was totally out of the business. And I met my mentor and business partner and realized that there are a few people that do it different. And then we were able to come up with something and really make it quite different than what everyone else is doing. And we realized the financial services model is broken. They talk about planning, but it's really a guise to sell you something. They don't care about the plan, to get you into a product or an investment. But I think once we realize that the investments, they're commodity. You can get them anywhere. What you can't get anywhere is guidance and advice, and no algorithm or robo can give you that. So really getting to know somebody, and that's why people work with, that's why people choose certain firms, so that they're working with someone that understands them and their situation and how it's unique. And the product is last and least important or not important at all. Sometimes people just want someone to educate them so they can move forward and make decisions with confidence.
With money, it's interesting because it's so important to our day to day, because when you have it, you have, the opportunity to have, experiences with your families and do things. And there's so much good that comes when you have a good, confident plan. But it also, the opposite is, it causes so much worry and weight and stress about like the unknown, whether it's paying for college or whether, your home and things like that. So I am curious. So when you and your business partner or mentor at the time when you met, where did you connect on like this idea of a future of finances that looks different than what the traditional model looks like?
So my business partner, Josh, had already been in the business for about 13 years, and he was doing things differently. He was paid by major corporations to take their executives through a plan. And that's it, paid to take them and educate them through a plan. So it wasn't the traditional route. And then we together came up with, how do we get this to, if you're not working for a Fortune 500 company, how do you have access to this? Like, how do you not have to worry about the guy who's going to stalk you down and say, you have to buy life insurance, or you need this? No, like, people just want to plan and to get educated, and maybe they're going to do it on their own. Great, do it on your own if you can do it on your own, but you want a second opinion on what you're currently doing. You have an advisor, or you are your advisor. I mean, that's what it comes. And sometimes you just want to pat on the back and say, hey, you're doing okay. Or, you know what, this is a little thing you could tweak on your journey here, or something that path you may not be seeing. So we really started to just say, let's look at the model that was being used with corporations and high-level executives, and how do we bring it to just the everyday person so that they have access to our services. They know how we got paid. They're not sitting there going, okay, so when is the bomb going to drop on what they're going to try and sell me? No. Like, I want someone to sit back, relax. And I think I always say, like, things happen for a reason. My first couple years out of school, I mean, life was going well, and then the dominoes started to to drop. And I experienced, I think, what most people experience sometimes in a lifetime, I experienced in about a 5-year period. I got married. I ended up getting diagnosed with a tumor on my liver. I had a crazy amount of, I had to put my loans on forbearance, and I had a crazy amount of college loan debt, $160,000, had a baby, got divorced, had half my liver removed. I mean, all these major medical things, financial things. And my ex-husband, while we were married, lost his job. Like, 1,000,001 life transitions that sometimes people take a lifetime to experience. It all happened to me in about 5-6 years. So experienced it all. And if I felt like it was just my setup to be able to connect and communicate with people going through stuff and truly understand, for me to understand too, like, okay, life isn't all about the almighty dollar. Sure, makes things a heck of a lot easier when you got money in the bank. But how can you live a more meaningful life? I mean, we all hear the things like, okay, tomorrow isn't promised, or, all the stuff. But when you're going through day to day, it's like, okay, yeah, that's great advice. But you know what? I got to get through the grind today. I have work, I have kids, I have all this stuff. So it really put a perspective for me on how you can design a life to be your best life. And guess what? It doesn't have to be what you see on social media. Your best life is unique to you. And it's going to be, mine is going to be very different than, someone else's. And that's okay. But how do we put that in perspective and really start enjoying life and not having to wait till you're 50 or 60 and go through something monumental like a health crisis that wakes you up and says, wake up, like, time is short and you've been wasting all these years worrying, not happy, or in situations that aren't good. So I think all the time, I'm like, oh, I was blessed with going through all of this stuff and really being able to wake me up at a really young age. Before I was like 32, all this stuff had happened. And being able to live my life better and live my best life, and then also connect with people and understand, like, what does a job loss do? What does someone taking you to a room and saying, hey, I want to prepare you for the worst, this is what might happen, and not knowing if tomorrow is really promised, or you're gonna have to go through treatments or whatever it may be. I got a taste of all of that, and that really helps me connect with clients a whole heck of a lot more.
So did you start Second Opinion Partners, or did you join?
No, so my partner had a different firm, and then we collectively rebranded, and like, I joined, I guess, but we rebranded and collectively came up with a proprietary process, which is Second Opinion Partners today.
So first of all, I got to say the name is fantastic. There's so many times where you say, oh, I should really get a second opinion. And usually we're thinking about health crises, but people don't stop and say, I need a second opinion on my finances. I need a second opinion on my insurance. Now, insurance, you can have a broker and they can alert you when rates change, but it's not necessarily you stay with that broker. Maybe another broker is going to find something different. So the idea of a second opinion to me is fantastic. But you've also started a project called Live Your Best Life Now, which complements this. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think people are at all different parts of their journey, and where they are financially, or where they are from an education standpoint, or where they are just in life in general. And sometimes people they're not ready to meet with an advisor. How do you find the right one? And so many advisors in our business focus so much on the money. And you know what? Money is really the secondary thing. So born out of COVID was this Live Your Best Life Now courses. And they're online courses. It's great. And it really talks about everything that, people pay me a lot of money to take a couple, normally it's a couple, but people through, that you can get it online and do it like a do it yourself. So, and it really starts to go like, what do you value? What's important to you? And like, that is the foundation to living your best life. And the financial component is a plug-in. So one of the exercises I have people do is writing your own eulogy, which is a really difficult thing to do. And people are like, I don't get it. Why do you want me to write my eulogy? And I'm like, well, here's why. What do you want people to say about you when you're no longer here? And are you living your life the way you want to be remembered? And if you're not, there's a disconnect. And guess what? There's probably a financial component disconnect to that as well. If you want to volunteer more, if you want to do this, okay, well, then there's trade-offs in life. And then people start to have a better, clearer picture of what those trade-offs are. We all grow up and I call it the white picket fence syndrome. And I was guilty of it before I went through all my stuff. I'm like, okay, I'm going to have this 5,000 square foot house. I want this car. I want to have a pool in the backyard. I'm going to have, 2.2 kids, whatever, the dream. I was having it. And then when the domino started to crash, I'm like, okay, well, that's not happening the way I thought it was going to happen. And so then I started to really design my life. And a business coach took me through this practice of writing my own eulogy. And that just rocked my world. So I was like, you know what? No one's remembering the car I lived in, the house I lived in. And whether my house is 5,000 square feet or 1,500 square feet, no one's saying that's what it was. They're not remembering me that way. And so I really started to look at the trade-offs. And, one of my things became my son and I got divorced when he was 18 months. He's 11 now. He's my little buddy, and I love to travel. And so my little hashtag in life became experience over things, and, teaching my son hey, we can go to a Chicago Blackhawks hockey game, or you can have this, toy from Target. And I started to teach him these trade-offs, and it works the same with adults when we're talking about the things they want, how they want to be remembered, what they value, what they want for their kids. Okay, great. Yes, you can, pay 100% for your kids' college. The trade-off is that you're gonna have to work a little longer, or you're gonna have to do this. And what do you value more? How do you start talking to your kids about that? So again, that education component and talking about trade-offs.
I love that, especially when you talk about money does feel complicated. If your financial literacy is just kind of like the everyday person, it feels complicated. But when you actually start explaining how you make those choices for your clients, it can still feel complicated until the second you said how you explain it to your son, you're like, it's actually the exact same process you do no matter stage of life you're in. So I appreciate you sharing that family example because it's so real. And it's so way of where are you most aligned? Is this instant gratification toy in the Target island that you'll use, for a couple hours? They rarely use it that long, versus the experience of going to the game is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So when you started this idea of, thinking about helping more people, because I think when you do videos like that in that DIY style, and especially doing it during the time of COVID, I think that there's a turning point. A lot of people said, I can serve more people and I can use, technology the way consumerism is starting to shift towards. Can you describe what your first step you did to kind of put that idea into motion?
Yeah. So, I'll tell you, I was on my treadmill and I started watching actually a video of somebody else, and I call my business partner and I'm like, I have an idea. We've been talking, how do we get this to the masses? Because just we didn't think it was fair that we were delivering, when I first started, we were delivering educational planning content to corporations, to high level executives, who already made a great salary and we were getting paid, $1,000, $2,000 plus per executive that we met with. And how does the everyday person have access to us? So it's the same thing here. We thought well, how do we get to the masses, and how do we get everyone to start living their best life? And also, I felt like COVID was a turning point for people to say okay, wow, things can flip in a matter of second, things that you just didn't think could happen. So the first step was really just, I jotted down my idea. I'm like, okay, so how do I bring this course? There's so much connection that I have with someone when I sit with someone either on a Zoom, a client, or face to face. How do you get that same connection when you're delivering it to the masses? And how do you make sure you're talking to someone and that everyone can kind of connect no matter where they are in their process? So that was a little challenging. and making sure that, what comes so easy to me, and it's like this stuff I talk about like the back of my hand, because it's what I've been doing forever. How do I make sure I communicate that to everyone else? And no matter where someone is in their financial literacy, no matter where someone is in their journey of life or what they're going through, they can connect with the content. So it was really just mapping it out. What do we want to deliver? How do we want to deliver it? And what's the end goal? Like, what do we want them to get out of it? And really, we wanted them to take action and persevere when they're done. And perseverance, probably the biggest one, because like anything, people start a diet and yet they might be 2 days into their diet and then they're like, okay, I'm done. Like, this is too hard. Or, a weekend and they stop. So it's like teaching someone also that perseverance, like there is no magic wand. I'm not going to make everything all of a sudden better for you, but I'm going to give you the tools to make it better. And I'm going to tell you ahead of time, you're going to go over road bumps. And so that was a big component to try and articulate and get across to people, was how do I tell them that they're going to have to persevere. I'm very realistic, and we're very realistic. And I want to say that, it's not going to be all sunny days ahead. Just because we go through all this doesn't mean there's going to be sunny days, but how do you get past the one cloudy day and keep going after that?
So Nicole, you mentioned road bumps and perseverance. So when you started setting this up, I imagine that it took a little bit of perseverance, and you probably had a few road bumps along the way just to set this course, this type of learning up. What were your biggest challenges?
Probably the biggest challenges was the amount of content. Like, okay, there's so much stuff you can deliver to somebody, but how do you keep someone engaged? And then two, like, what kind of platform are we going to use to get this and to deliver it the way we want? So there were a couple of challenges, and then, feedback from people. Some are like, oh, well, I kind of know all this stuff. All right. Well, it wasn't like, I'm like, oh, all right. Well, that wasn't what I wanted to hear. And overcoming some of those, and like, how do we get more creative with the content that we're giving? Again, in just learning how to connect with lots of people through a different medium than what we were used to.
So talk about that connection, because I'm a professional storyteller.
Okay.
And I advocate that everyone needs to make sure that they connect with their audience, and they have different ways of doing that. And you did mention that some people are like, oh, I know all this already, so this is boring to me. And then other people are probably like, wow, this is fantastic. So did you create a framework that allowed you to be able to connect with both types of people?
I did. And I did a lot of storytelling and being very vulnerable and opening up about my own, what I went through. And I think that certainly helps people connect, because we live in this world where you scroll through Instagram, you scroll through Facebook or LinkedIn, and everyone's got the perfect life. And so someone looks at me and has no idea that I didn't know how I was going to put diapers on my kid because I was $160,000 in student loan debt. Was going through divorce and $60,000 of credit card debt because my ex-husband was going back to school for a second debt, just lots of debt. And here I am helping people try and manage their money. I felt like I was in a, I couldn't manage, it felt like I couldn't manage my own. So, and then two, like connecting with people and just letting them know, like, listen, I sat in a doctor's office when he told me like, hey, there's a mass on your liver and we have to prepare for the worst. It could be this doesn't look good. And here's everything else. And you're sitting there at 25 being told this, and you're like, oh my God, my life is over. Like, I just got married. Like my life is over. So really being vulnerable and saying, yeah, my life might be great now, but I had to get over road bumps. I had to crawl myself out of a hole so big, and I never gave up. And I never said, oh, they have it so much easier. I think connecting with people and telling your story and being vulnerable, people somehow find something that they can connect with. And, hopefully they didn't know, people haven't gone through what I've gone through, and I don't want anyone to, or at least if they can be aware, like, hey, listen, it wasn't like it was all handed on a silver platter and she's working for her dad's wealth management firm. Quite the contrary. Like, I came into the business not knowing anyone, and didn't have help with college education, so I definitely shared way more. And I think that was one of my ways to connect with people, is be very vulnerable and say, hey, not look at me like how successful I am now, but I'm telling you, I've been where you've been. So, and I've been kind of like not knowing what the best path is. And also I've been where you got to dig deep to find that energy to just kind of keep going, because people are lost in different ways. They may be financially fine, but they're lost on like their career. Like, what do I do? I meet women all the time who are like, they've been a wife, they've been a mother, and they're like, I don't even know who I am anymore. Like, how do I find me? So it's like connecting with people on a different level. And so my goal is for them to find something that they can relate to in each of the stories that I've gone through, and or stories that I've told of clients going through, to be able to connect with them. So no matter where they were, they could find value.
So I'd love to ask you, we have a lot of people that watch these It's Better Together podcasts, and many are entrepreneurs or solopreneurs, and being willing to put yourself out there, whether it's social media or a course, but being vulnerable, it's such like a delicate thing to do, because you're kind of confused. There's definitely, confidence when you can do it. And then there's like, oh, did I share too much? May I ask you, like, your first step to putting yourself out there, how did you overcome the fear of worrying of how they would receive it?
So I didn't really, to be very transparent, I didn't really put myself out there till I felt like I was on, when I say stable ground, where like I really was, like I felt like, I made it, I did it, I got past the worst of the worst, and I'm in a good spot, I can breathe. Because, as a business owner and entrepreneur, you always hear fake it till you make it. And there is some truth to that, because it brings you confidence. You want to show the world that you're confident, but there's also being like, there is points where you can bring in that reality in some of your struggles and let people know, like, oh, this was a challenge for me. It's all about delivery too. I do think I definitely shared challenges here. I was helping clients make decisions about college planning for their children. And, at the time, it's like, these people are entrusting me with, their life savings, everything that they have, in some instances, millions of dollars. The last thing I want to tell them is like, oh, I have $160,000 of loans. Like, but I was able to be vulnerable enough with them and say, I did have loans, and it was challenging, but I think here are ways that you can have realistic conversations with your children. If the trade-off is going to be, you can only do so much, like educate them to put them in a good position. So I was vulnerable to an extent. Once I got to myself to where I felt like I was in a very great, positive financial position, business was good, I felt like I could divulge even more. Like, this is what I went through. This was my journey, because I was able to breathe. And I never wanted to come across that like the woe is me or the martyr or whatever, and, feel sorry for me. No, like I was able at that point to tell my story and be like, I'm thankful having gone through it. I wouldn't change. And I know people say this all the time. And sometimes I don't think they always believe it, but I wouldn't change my journey for anything. I am where I am only because I went through that. And I don't think I would be as appreciative where I am today. I don't think I would have enjoyed, I'll say, the climb up as much as I would had I not gone through that. So I think it's a matter of really figuring out that appropriateness of where you are and how your story connects to your business, and being vulnerable, because I think it's not, you never want to come across like you're whining, complaining, or you want someone to feel sorry for you. That's not it at all. But you want to be vulnerable enough so that they understand where you've been and how it connects to your business today, and maybe why you are so passionate about your business. Here's the journey it took me to get here. This is why I love what I do. That sounds very different than like, oh my God, you'll never believe it. Like, I got divorced, and like he left me in like $60,000 of credit card debt, plus I had student loan. Like, that sounds like, oh my God, the Debbie Downers. Well, like, you don't want to hear that. So it's really changing that story around to that's going to enhance your business, not make someone, again, not be the Debbie Downer. It's like, how do you really turn that into, it has been a positive, and it's a mindset. In it, when you're going through hell, you don't have that mindset. So that's not the time to tell everyone you're going through it. it takes time to get yourself into a mindset where you're like, okay, I got this. I'm strong. I've overcome it and I'm on good standings now.
So it sounds like you have come a long way, which is great. We love to hear journeys that people are successful and confident. So what's next? What's next on your vision?
Next on my vision. So really I have the Live Your Best Life. I'm also working on another project with another amazing entrepreneur that I actually came across and met through social media during COVID. We're working on this project called Second Vault. And we're super, super excited about it. So it's constantly like, how do we keep delivering? My whole goal is being able to deliver to people that wouldn't normally have access to my services. You know, maybe the average person isn't going to be able to afford sitting down with me at $5,500 through a second opinion service engagement, or, you know, whatever it is we charge. But how, you know, sometimes does everybody, no matter where where you sit economically, how do you have access to the education and the services to live your best life? And then two, the Second Vault project, which I'm super excited about, is you know, how do you have access to making sure your house is in order without having to use another piece of technology? And you know, this is for everyone, someone who maybe has a trust and a will and all your estate planning documents, to someone who doesn't, but God forbid something happened to you or you weren't as healthy as you are today. There's some breadcrumbs for your family to figure out where things are at. So got some exciting projects coming up, but it's about how to reach more people and give people access that may not always have access.
That's awesome. Well, the Second Vault sounds amazing. So once it's done, we'll have you back on the show. We'll interview you for that. In the meantime, if somebody's interested in your Live Your Best Life training, can you just share how they would access it and give, you know, a little more specifics about to see if it's right for anybody that's watching the show?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can go to www.LiveYourBestLifeNow.com. That takes you to the website. There is a code if you want to use podcast as a code. It gets you a discount. Takes you through. It's a very, very inexpensive online course. It's do it yourself, pace it yourself. You also have access to a Facebook group with some more information and a group of people who are going through sometimes the same thing you are, trying to find, you know, your journey and to live your best life. And then also on Instagram, I'm pretty active on Instagram, but it's LiveYourBestLife_Nicole.
Okay, now we're at the end. Basically, we're at right there at the end, and I want to ask you. You've had this amazing journey. It sounds to me like there's so much harmony going on in your in the projects that you have chosen. What is it that brings you joy today?
Ooh, good question. So, you know, it's so funny, as I was just talking about this weekend, I would say there's a lot in my personal life that brings me joy. So I love my work and I'm totally passionate about it. And I feel excited to get up every day and do what I do. My son, he's 11 now, and I feel like I've enjoyed every step of the journey in his age. And I have an awesome boyfriend. And so I love traveling once we're able to get back to doing that. But being active, being out there and like seeing the world and experiencing new things, like that's what brings me joy. And, you know, I find it funny because this weekend I was just talking like, I don't know if something's wrong with me. Like things don't ruffle my feathers like they used to. Like, I always put in perspective every time something happens. I'm like, whatever. And I'm like, something wrong with me? Do I need to get checked out? Like, I'm just like, like it's not the end of the world. It is what it is. But yeah, I would say work and personal life are all good news, are in harmony. They all goes in phases. Of course, there's stress here and there, but yeah, enjoying time with my son and work.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you so much, Nicole, for stopping by, because you know what? It is better together. And when Revel Coach and our guest today, Nicole, is it Mayer? Gosh,
Mayer.
Mayer. I'll tell you what, that's embarrassing. When we can chat with other entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, people that are really trying to help the world improve. We are all better for it. So thank you so much for stopping by. And you all have been listening to It's Better Together with Revel Coach. You can follow us on YouTube. So if you are watching, make sure you hit the subscribe button.